Am I the asshole for embarrassing my brother's friend's parent when she thought that I am the housemaid? I, 16F, have no idea how genetics work, but my maternal grandmother had dark skin, while my grandfather had fair skin. My mother was born relatively fair and so is my father, but I ended up with the same dark skin as my grandmother. My two brothers, 2M and 5M, are fair too, making me stand out a little. So what happened was that my brother had just turned 5 and my parents invited 4 of his friends and their parents to our house for a small party. I was cleaning the things in the kitchen while my mother went upstairs for her medicine, not related to the story, when I was approached by one of the parents who passed me some plates to wash and asked if I could speak English, to which I replied yes as a second language, not a lie because it is true for me and my whole family. And then she proceeded to ask me about how long I've been staying here, how is my family, etc. By that time it was clear to me that she thought I was the housemaid. Instead of correcting her, I decided to entertain myself by playing along. I started to refer my parents as sir and madam, and cooked up a whole load of bullshit to answer her questions about my life. When I was done cleaning, I went back to the hall with the parent and mischievously called my brother young master, which confused him. And then my mother came downstairs and I called her madam too, to which she immediately realized what had happened and told me to stop it, also telling the parent that I am her daughter, the sister of the birthday boy. Have to admit, everyone laughed a little at the misunderstanding. Instead of laughing it off too, the parent became very red in the face. She apologized SND, then took her kid and left the party, just like that. It was kind of awkward for a while, but the party went on without them since there are still 3 more kids with my brother. My parents told me after the party that I have taken it too far by embarrassing the parent and wanted me to apologize to her next time we meet, if there is next time. I refused to because I think she kind of asked for it, could not stop myself for having a little fun. And who the heck just assume someone to be the housemaid and get all nosy about her life? Am I the asshole for embarrassing her? Extra info. This is actually not the first time I pull something like that because I get mistaken as adopted or babysitter sometimes and I tend to troll them a little and they usually laugh it off after knowing the truth. This is however the first time I get mistaken as maid, housekeeper in my own damn home. Not the asshole. That mom was looking for trouble. How racist do you have to be to assume a teenager surely has to be a maid just because she's doing dishes and happens to have darker skin? And, on top of that, how entitled do you have to be to pry and ask so many personal questions? Yeah, you maybe took it a bit far and were immature about it, but you're 16 so a bit immature by definition. Maybe you could go with a half-assed backhanded apology along the lines of, I'm sorry if you were embarrassed that I played along with your assumption that I was a maid. Also, you can ignore this if you want, but I would try to have an open conversation with your parents about racism and how, if it affects you differently, if you feel you can talk to them about it. Colorism is real and partly what that woman's racist assumption comes from, because your skin is darker than your parents'. They might need a prod to take your viewpoint on this and why forcing you to apologize to her would be a bit much. I'll be the sole dissenting voice. Why not? You are the asshole. Instead of offering any correction whatsoever, you leapt into outright lying, spinning a fantastical tale. That was incredibly rude, because it humiliated the lady, over a slight misunderstanding that could have been corrected in a split second, with minimal embarrassment on all sides. The thing that makes malicious compliance stories satisfying is when the protagonist tries to correct the misinformed person, and they ignore what is being said. This was just a cruel joke, designed to completely humiliate the woman. And this is someone with whom your family has a relationship. Badly played. Not the asshole you had fun with someone for making a racist assumption. Good on you. Not the asshole. She was mad she got caught stereotyping you. If you don't want to be embarrassed, don't make racist assumptions. Obviously she sucks for making that assumption, but you didn't have to go that far into a deception. The mother was out of line for initially assuming you were the maid, but once you started with the sirs and madams, you became as much of an asshole. I came here to say NTA, but you played along. You are the asshole. You could have easily corrected her in the beginning and that would have been the end of the story. What's that saying, when you assume you an ass of you and me? You not only made asshole of the mother but one of yourself. I think your reaction was pretty funny. And she probably is racist. But there's a chance that she didn't know how you were related to your family. There's a huge age gap between siblings and obviously you guys look different, so she was probably confused and now she's super embarrassed. My nephew is 15 years younger than me. We're both white and people would always be confused about our relation to each other. Aunt, sibling, babysitter, it's just a hard gap to place. Not the asshole, she was prejudiced and coming off as racist from what it looks like. Not the asshole. You did well and handle light racism like a champ. Keep being a badass. Not the asshole. She saw you, with darker skin, cleaning and learned you knew English as a second language before deciding that meant you were the help. Why is the idea of an older child helping with chores so foreign to her that she assumes you work for the household she is visiting? I will go for you are the asshole. Because we don't know why the mom asked you all those questions and how she felt afterwards. It's hard to judge without the mom being here and giving her time to explain, but you deliberately messed around with her and embarrassed her in front of everybody. You could have tell the truth after 5 minutes or so in the kitchen in private instead of the whole, master, and madam game you played. Alright, you are the asshole. You could have just corrected her. Everybody moves on. Not the asshole. That's hilarious lol, there was no reason for her to have made those assumptions other than your darker skin tone, so she embarrassed herself by being racist. You just made the best of the situation by finding a way to laugh about it. I don't think your parents should be upset with you for that. You're a 16-year-old who was put in an uncomfortable situation. She's a grown woman with a child who was a guest in your home, and what she did was hurtful and inappropriate. She should apologize to you. You are the asshole. 2 wrongs don't make a right. Were you in the right to embarrass her? Sure, but considering that there is a familial element here, your brother's friend, brother, and parents now all got involved, and you became inconsiderate to string her along. She was always gonna be embarrassed anyways, but you drove the nail home with no mercy, and now refuse to apologize. Now you are the a-hole. That is straight up immature child behavior, even if you were actually a teenager. Not the asshole. She embarrassed her damn self. You had me tears of joy, tears of joy. You are the asshole. You played along. You are actually bragging about trolling people and your excuse is that you could not stop yourself. What's up with that? You're 16, you're old enough to know better. The rest of your family look alike, so it's not exactly racist to assume you're not related. She saw someone in the house that didn't seem to be part of the festivities and didn't seem to be related and was cleaning dishes. Plus you have a big age gap with your brothers, so even more pointers towards you not being related. She went to help you and tried to make small talk. It says a lot about someone's character how they treat people in the service industry, and she was trying to be nice to you. That was not being nosy. You are the asshole, especially since you refused to apologize. It's clearly an honest mistake and you did embarrass them in front of everyone for your little fun. Haha, it was a little mean but all in good fun I think. She could have still stayed after apologizing but she chose to leave. Not the asshole. That parent went to someone's house, saw a young black girl cleaning in the kitchen and immediately assumed one. You couldn't speak English too. You are the maid. That's straight up racism. You do not apologize to a racist person. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. But I disagree with everyone automatically assuming the woman was racist. If you look different enough than everyone else in your family, it's not an unreasonable assumption that you're not related. Going off that, if it seems like you're not related and you're cleaning during a party, it's not unreasonable to think you were hired to clean. Context is everything. It turns out her first baseline assumption was incorrect, but in your original post you point out that due to your skin tone it's not an unreasonable mistake. There's nothing wrong with having a little fun with a case of mistaken identity, but the woman was probably genuinely embarrassed and felt bad for making the mistake. It wouldn't kill you to have a little empathy for her. We're all only human after all. Not the asshole, she made a dick of herself by assuming something based on the color of your skin. You had fun with it, it's not your fault she feels stupid, which she should feel anyway. You are the asshole. She was a guest in your home and you embarrassed her. She most probably left ASAP. Beck, she was mortified. While what she did was racist, she probably didn't realize it was and was being nice. And if you think about it, if you were really a maid, her taking the time to get to know you is nice. Info. Besides from the casual racism, was she asking questions to check you were there on your own free will? Maybe she was concerned that a teenager was working in the house. She was asking about your life, not bossing you about. Everyone sucks here, her for assuming you are the maid obviously, but you for embarrassing her in public. I think it is hilarious, don't get me wrong, but it is still an asshole move. Not the asshole. Maybe she shouldn't have been racist, then she wouldn't be embarrassed. Like your parents' reactions make me think she wouldn't be embarrassed just from the initial conversation if you had be corrected her then. She should have been. She was wrong to assume what she did, but that was immature of you to continue with the lie. You did embarrass her, she was racist against you. Next time just correct someone, they might still be embarrassed but at least then it'll be all on them. No assholes here, you're not an asshole, but it was a bit mean of you. She wasn't necessarily racist, she just assumed you weren't part of the family. She must have felt horrible. It'd be nice if you to apologize or explain it was all in good fun. Even if Op was a housekeeper, how it's acceptable to ask all those very personal questions about housekeeper and about the family that employs her. If the guest had brought the dishes, said something like, "Hey, here's some dishes. How's life?" Nobody would have even guessed she mistook her friend's daughter for hired help. Speaks also how close a friend she was that she had no idea there was an older daughter. In all honesty, I liked the prank. I'm sure I'd have laughed in the moment. But, I think that Mom learned a proper lesson that day, but I'd have still apologized for leading her on. She clearly felt embarrassed and ostracized about obviously racially profiling you, which is deserved. But she's not a bad person for having old-fashioned thoughts and making a mistake, especially considering the age gap between you and your brothers. I think it's an easy mistake to make for many older people that wouldn't know any better. Reach out an olive branch. This is an opportunity to have a meaningful conversation about race with both her and your own mother, and maybe change the mind of someone who needs it. NTA, your parents are more concerned with you embarrassing someone who was racist to you than with having someone racist in their home with their dark-skinned daughter. Nah. You didn't know that she won't be able to brush it off. At the end of the day, I think when someone looks very different from family, then I guess it's possible to make this mistake, so I can't really say racist. I mean, would she talk to you and take an interest in you if she were racist? She is allowed to be embarrassed and awkwardly leave. That's up to her. Hope there is no bad blood if she ever comes back. Light but really mostly the other mother. She was racist, you let your joke get out of hand, and if she apologizes to you for jumping to conclusions, you should apologize back for taking the joke too far. I'd make that offer to your mother. But only apologize if the other person does so first. And make it clear to your mom that you expect her to be on your side if someone is acting racist towards you. Ha 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 ha, it's not your job to correcting her, it's her job to not make prejudice. My friend is brown, married to Caucasian, and the daughter looks fair. She often received a you her nanny. Not the asshole, it was rude and racist for that parent to make assumptions about you, but I probably wouldn't have taken it as far as you did. I don't know if I would apologize. Maybe. Not the asshole. Racists don't deserve to be coddled just because they hold ignorant ideals. Intent does not erase impact. She is an adult. You can only get so far in life being naively racist before you actually hurt someone, and the excuse "they mean well" doesn't mean shit when someone is affected by that racism. She deserved to be embarrassed because her ideals are outdated and blatantly racist, and the infantilizing in the comment section in order to try to make excuses for this adult woman is gross and weird. Definitely not the asshole. It's not your job as a 16-year-old to teach an adult woman that her ideals are messed up. Good on you, Op. Nah. You're 16 and your brother is 5. The parent made a bad assumption based on your skin color. I get it, that happens to me all of the time. But she wasn't talking down to you. She tried to have a good faith conversation to get to know you at a social event. Pick your battles. This parent wasn't some close-minded bigot that needed to be mocked. You could have just as easily made your point by telling her you were his sister right away. She would have been embarrassed, but she probably would have stuck around, and that kid would have been allowed to play with his friends for longer. It sounds like Op is Indian, so am I, because of the terminology she is using. I don't think that what happened has anything to do with racism. In India, it's not unusual for poor teenaged girls to work as domestic help. And most of them have darker skin because they tend to tan a lot due to working so much and staying outdoors. Add to it the fact that Op and her brothers have a huge age difference. Also, that lady saw her working in the kitchen. It's not unreasonable for her to assume that when it's so common, and she had never met her family before that. And from the post, it sounds like she was being polite and just making conversation, and you decided to play her, so I would say you're a little bit of an asshole, but you weren't being malicious, just having fun. So nah. Okay, you're a little bit of an asshole. Like a small bit. Yes, she made assumptions, most likely, based on a fairly big sibling age gap and that you have a complexion different to your family. She assumed you were not related, which is on her. But did she make you feel uncomfortable? Was she rude? Where you live, would a maid be common? It sounds like she helped clean up, etc. Yes. If you have never, ever made incorrect assumptions about people, then fine, you're entirely guilt-free. Everybody does though, and so long as there was no malice behind it, it's simple human fallibility. So it sounds like you were a bit mean to somebody over a misunderstanding. Not the asshole. If you had had fair skin, she wouldn't have made that assumption. It was racial bias, pure and simple. Your parents may not understand what it feels like, never having experienced it firsthand. She's the asshole for assuming you're the maid. You're the asshole for basically mocking her for some time before your mum embarrassed her with the truth. The parent embarrassed themselves by being casually racist. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. Plus, the parent was a tad racist for what they did, so they definitely deserved the embarrassment. You are the asshole. It was an obvious mistake due to the fact that 1. You don't look related. And 2. There is a 10+ years age gap between you and your oldest brother. Oh, and 3. You clearly admitted you trolled them for your own amusement. Not the asshole. But your parents are for not introducing guests to the entire family and residents. Not the asshole. My oldest, 11, is dark completed with all darker features. My youngest 2, 7, 10 Maleth, are blonde. The older 2 have the same parentage, and poor kid used to get singled out as the reject all the time. Pisses me off that people are so rude. NTA, and that's pretty funny. Some family friends of ours are blonde, blue-eyed, and fair-skinned, and so are 5 of their kids. One daughter got her paternal great-grandmother's genes and has very distinctive Native American coloring and features. Genetics are funny. Not the asshole, that's hilarious.